To think is to suffer.
A great intellect is often the mask of a tormented soul. What if being intelligent isn't a blessing, but a burden? What if the more you understand the world, the less you feel at home in it? Have you ever felt like your mind sees too much? Like the illusions others rely on don't work on you? And instead of clarity bringing peace, it brings you pain? You're not broken. You're just awake. In a world addicted to noise, quick fixes, shallow comfort, and conformity, those who think deeply often feel cursed. Because they see what others avoid. They feel what others repress. They ask the questions no one dares to ask. To be intelligent, truly intelligent, is to carry the unbearable weight of awareness. The more intelligent the man, the more he suffers. Fyodor Dostoevsky. We glorify intelligence on the surface. We praise genius, celebrate innovation, envy intellect. But rarely do we talk about the cost. Because high intelligence doesn't just mean knowing more. It means feeling more, doubting more, breaking more. It means constantly wrestling with meaning, morality, mortality. To be intelligent is to see the cracks in civilization. To feel the emptiness behind the performances. To detect the lie beneath the smile. To hear the scream behind the silence. And to realize, the intelligent man suffers from his intelligence as the fool from his foolishness. Honoré de Balzac. This is not a video for the average mind. This is not a video that will give you false hope or sugar-coated advice. This is a descent into the curse of intelligence. But also, the path beyond it. Because the same intellect that isolates you can become the very thing that liberates you. A mind that is stretched by a new experience can never go back to its old dimensions. Oliver Wendell Holmes. In the next 20 minutes, we'll explore why intelligence often leads to existential loneliness. The psychological toll of seeing too much, feeling too deeply. Why smart people self-destruct, self-isolate, and struggle to belong. How thinkers like Jung, Camus, Simone Weil, and Schopenhauer dealt with this weight. And how to transform your mind from a prison into a compass. Because if you've ever felt like your intelligence is a curse, you're not alone. You're not mad. You're not weak. You're just awake in a world that is half asleep. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Jiddu Krishnamurti. This is your invitation. To stop shrinking your light to make others comfortable. To stop numbing your thoughts just to fit in. To stop calling your gift a problem. And start calling it what it is. Power. But first, we must go deeper. We must understand the nature of the curse. The price of perception. The pain of being awake, in a world that begs for sleep. Intelligence is not a guarantee of happiness. Often, it is the opposite. Carl Jung. Let's begin. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Jiddu Krishnamurti. What if your intelligence isn't a gift, but a mirror? One that reflects a world you wish you didn't have to see. One that doesn't blink when it reveals the absurdity, the contradictions, the cruelty embedded in daily life. Smart people don't suffer because they lack answers. They suffer because they see too many questions. And not enough people asking them. To be intelligent is to feel too much. To think too deeply. To carry the weight of a world that often seems to reject nuance, reject introspection, and punish authenticity. It's not the thinking that hurts, it's the clarity. The awareness of how broken things are. Of how shallow conversations can be. Of how artificial relationships become. Of how society values conformity over depth, noise over silence, and appearance over truth. You see it. You can't unsee it. And now, you're cursed with perception. The more intelligent, the more depressed. Dostoevsky. The double-edged sword of awareness. Awareness doesn't come with comfort. It comes with disillusionment. You begin to notice the performative nature of life. How people wear masks to survive. How much of human behavior is scripted, a reaction to fear, to conditioning, to tribalism. You see how often intelligence is not rewarded, but resented. In school, it makes you an outsider. In work, it makes you a threat. In love, it makes you too intense. In society, it makes you dangerous. Because to be intelligent is to question. And questioning is rebellion. It's no wonder the world prefers ignorance. Ignorance obeys. Intelligence disrupts. And so, the intelligent person, trapped between clarity and the cost of expressing it, learns to hide. To dim their light just enough to stay acceptable. To suppress their curiosity to avoid loneliness. To smile politely while their mind burns with questions nobody else is asking. In individuals, insanity is rare, but in groups, parties, nations and epochs, it is the rule. Friedrich Nietzsche. The irony? The smarter you are, the lonelier it becomes. Not because you're incapable of connection, but because genuine connection becomes rare. Surface-level interaction feels suffocating. Small talk is an insult to the depth you crave. You ache for realness, but the world fears it. So intelligence, in a world that doesn't want to feel, becomes exile. When intelligence meets emotional sensitivity, intelligence alone isn't the curse. But when it's fused with emotional depth, it becomes existential torment. You're not just thinking, you're feeling the weight of your thoughts. You're not just analyzing problems, you're absorbing their implications, their pain, their implications for humanity. You read a headline, and it doesn't just inform you, it haunts you. You hear someone lie, and it doesn't just annoy you, it crushes you. You sense hypocrisy, and it doesn't just irritate you, it shatters your hope. This world is too loud for people who feel too much. Too fast for those who think too slowly and deeply. Too shallow for those who long for something more. So you withdraw. You become the observer, not by choice, but by necessity. Intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. Stephen Hawking. But what if the change is toward noise, chaos, and delusion? Then intelligence becomes a silent scream. A silent scream inside a room full of people applauding the performance. A person's worth is measured by the worth of what he values. Marcus Aurelius. Intelligence doesn't just come with the capacity to think. It comes with the inability to stop. You analyze. Then reanalyze. Then analyze why you analyzed it that way. You play back conversations for hours, noticing every nuance, every micro-expression, every unspoken tension. You predict future outcomes in 5 different variations, none of which ever happened the way you imagined. You spiral into philosophical rabbit holes in the middle of the night, wondering about existence, death, meaning, or the terrifying possibility of meaninglessness. You're not living life. You're dissecting it. It's like being trapped in a hole of mirrors, your mind bouncing reflections off reflections until you no longer know which thoughts are yours, and which are projections of your fear. Thinking is difficult, that's why most people judge. Carl Jung. But what happens when you think so much, you begin to doubt everything? You question your instincts. You over-explain your emotions. You intellectualize your pain. Your mind becomes both weapon and prison. Every idea opens a door, and behind every door is another hallway. No exit. No silence. No peace. And the worst part? You become disconnected from your body. From your heart. From your intuition. Because intelligence, when left unchecked, hijacks everything. The curse of seeing too much. Smart people often struggle with one paradox. They see too much, but feel powerless to change any of it. You notice the cracks in the system. The contradictions in people's behavior. The lies in politics, the absurdity in traditions, the hollowness in modern culture. And yet, you wake up each day and go through the motions. Buying food from the same system you despise. Scrolling on the same platforms that numb your soul. Smiling in situations that feel existentially false. This is cognitive dissonance, the slow spiritual death of the intelligent mind. Man is the only creature who refuses to be what he is. Albert Camus. You know what's wrong, but you're too aware to believe that a single person can fix it. So you overadapt. You learn to act dumb around others just to be included. You pretend to not care so you won't be labeled intense. You bite your tongue until your soul goes numb. Intelligence becomes a burden, because it reveals a world not yet ready for depth, but you still have to live in it. Loneliness, the unspoken cost of insight. There's a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being alone, but from being unmatched. You can be in a room full of people, and still feel invisible. Not because they don't see you, but because they can't meet you, where you really are. They see your face, but not your fire. They hear your voice, but not the centuries of thought behind your questions. The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. Friedrich Nietzsche. The truth is, many intelligent people long to be understood, not praised. They crave someone who won't flinch at the depth of their thoughts. Someone who won't dismiss their existential dread with a motivational quote. They don't want answers, they want presence. Not small talk, but soul talk. Not solutions, but space. But such connections are rare, because few are willing to dive that deep. So the intelligent person learns to silence themselves. Not out of arrogance, but out of protection. Because nothing wounds deeper than being misunderstood. The wise man is always similar to himself. Lao Tzu. But what if that silence, that retreat, that loneliness, was not a curse, but a call? A call to go inward. To meet the self beneath the noise. To embrace intelligence not as a social tool, but a spiritual path. Because when the world refuses to meet your depth, perhaps it's time to stop looking outward. And instead, begin the journey inward. The highest form of intelligence is the ability to observe yourself without judgment. Jiddu Krishnamurti. What if intelligence wasn't meant to protect us from life, but to help us participate in it more deeply? What if the real evolution of a mind isn't measured by how much it knows, but by how gently it learns to hold what it cannot know? For the intelligent person, the healing does not begin with more books, more insight, or more control. It begins with a surrender, a softening, a radical act of self-compassion. To reclaim your heart, you must first return to the parts of you that the intellect rejected. The scared child, the confused dreamer, the hurt teenager who couldn't fix their family, no matter how smart they were. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Carl Jung. The mind wants to transcend the darkness, but the soul wants to integrate it. And that's the key, integration. To be fully human is not to choose between intellect and emotion, between logic and vulnerability. It is to hold them both, without shame. You can be brilliant and broken, insightful and insecure, wise and wildly uncertain. In fact, it's that paradox that makes you real. So how do we begin the process of integration? 1. Begin with presence. Put down the books. Close the tabs. Exit the theories. Breathe. Feel your body. Let yourself tremble without explaining it away. This is not weakness, it is returning to the animal truth of being alive. 2. Befriend the shadow. What parts of yourself have you exiled? What emotions do you deem irrational? What past versions of yourself do you secretly pity or despise? Invite them back in. You are not here to become perfect. You are here to become whole. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Carl Jung. 3. Speak from the heart, not just the mind. Try talking without rehearsing. Try writing without editing. Let language become a bridge, not a wall. 4. Stop worshipping certainty. You don't need all the answers. You never did. Truth is not a formula, it's a feeling. It lives in paradox, in nuance, in the in-between. 5. Practice sacred vulnerability. Let someone see you, not your resume, not your philosophy, not your polished insight, you. The trembling, trying, terrified you. The moment you do that, you are no longer alone. The gift beyond the curse. He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. Friedrich Nietzsche. When intelligence is finally married to humanity, something incredible happens. Your mind becomes a tool of compassion. Your insight becomes medicine, not only for yourself, but for others. Your suffering is no longer something to solve, but something to share. You begin to realize you were never cursed. You were just an integrated. Your intelligence was never the problem. Your disconnection was. And now that you see it, you can begin to return. The task is not to learn more, but to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Green Brown. There comes a moment when the most intelligent thing you can do is to stop running. Stop running from your softness. Stop running from your sadness. Stop running from the questions that have no answer. Because in that stillness, in that sacred surrender, a deeper kind of wisdom awakens. Not the kind that impresses others. Not the kind that builds resumes or wins debates. But the kind that heals. That connects. That transforms. This is the awakening of the intelligent soul. The rebirth of meaning. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. Charles Darwin. When intelligence becomes responsive to life, rather than resistant to it, we begin to see that suffering, confusion, doubt, these are not glitches in the system. They are the system. And when we stop trying to solve life like a problem, we can finally live it as a mystery. You don't need to escape the pain. You need to feel it. You don't need to conquer your anxiety. You need to listen to it. You don't need to master the world. You need to come home to yourself. The return to wholeness. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. Carl Jung. This is the true secret of those who suffer deeply and think profoundly. They stop seeing their pain as the enemy. They begin to use it as a mirror, a teacher, a compass. Your suffering holds the blueprint to your healing. Your overthinking hides a deeper intuition waiting to be heard. Your self-doubt is an invitation to relearn love, not from others, but from within. So let your intelligence guide you not to isolation, but to integration. Let your mind bow to your heart. And let your suffering become the birthplace of your sovereignty. The cure for the pain is in the pain. Rumi. The most intelligent thing you'll ever do is not to prove how smart you are. It's to remember how human you are. That you are not a machine of perfection. You are not here to fix yourself endlessly. You are not here to outthink your pain. You are here to learn how to hold it, with grace, with patience, with compassion. This is the secret Schopenhauer whispers to those who listen. Your freedom is not beyond your suffering. It is inside it. If you've made it this far, it means you're already walking this path. The quiet revolution of becoming real. Not smarter. Not more productive. Not more impressive. But real. If this video resonated with you, give it a like, not just for the algorithm, but to let me know that you're part of this inner journey. And if you want to keep diving deeper, subscribe and explore the other videos on the channel. We are building something here. Not just a library of thoughts, but a sanctuary for intelligent souls. A place where being too much is finally enough. So the next time someone says, "Why do you think so much?" you can smile and answer, "Because this is how I feel the world." And that is no curse. It's a gift.